Everyone loves a good scare on Halloween. The haunted houses, the graveyard whispers, the stories you shouldn't listen to after midnight. What is it about Halloween that draws us to the dark? To cemeteries, empty houses, and stories too unsettling to tell in daylight? Halloween was never just costumes and candy. It's the season of shadows, of forgotten places, cursed things, and stories that don't stay buried. From a terror-filled circus to haunted cemeteries, some stories were never meant to be told, but tonight we'll tear open the silence and let them loose. And these Halloween horrors, they're only the beginning. Welcome to Whispers After Dark, where the past won't rest and the dark remembers. Before we start, like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss what waits in the dark. They say there's something strange about circuses that only come on Halloween. No caravans on the road, no sound of trucks, no crew setting up. Just tents that appear overnight, stitched from shadow and smoke, standing on empty lots no one remembers giving permission to use. Tonight's tale is called The Ringmaster. And if your town ever wakes to the scent of burnt sugar and rusted iron in the air, you'd best keep your children close. It starts the same way every time. Flyers tacked to fences, posters fluttering on lampposts. No one sees them being put up. They're not glossy or modern, just aged paper, hand-drawn images that shimmer oddly when the light hits. At the top, a smiling man in a crimson coat and black bow tie, hand outstretched. The ringmaster welcomes you. By afternoon, the fairgrounds are alive, bright lights trembling through the fog, shadows stretched long across the midway, and an old-fashioned big top where the cracked pipes of a circus organ rattle out music that twists into hollow, mocking laughter. The kind of laughter that doesn't belong to children, but to something waiting, hidden in the seams of the circus, biding its time until nightfall. At the gate, families pause without knowing why. The banners promise wonder, the lights promise joy, but the man at the entrance promises something else entirely. There is no fee, no ticket, no exchange but a smile. And still the air turns sour when he reaches for their hands. He isn't tall, not monstrous, not loud, just off. He wears a black ringmaster's suit, pressed too sharply, trimmed in deep crimson that gleams wetly in the light. A stovepipe hat sits nailed straight atop his head. His face is skeletal white, with hollows around the eyes and teeth traced too wide across his cheeks, like a grin carved where flesh should be. He doesn't blink, doesn't shift. His posture is statuesque, yet gravity seems not to touch him. His clothes never gather dust. His eyes are bottomless, flat as obsidian, swallowing the lights around them. But when he smiles, it feels personal, as though he remembers you from somewhere you've forgotten. He glides through the crowd without brushing a shoulder, tipping his hat to the parents, slow, polite. But it is the children he watches, the children he draws in, the children who smile back when no one else notices, the children who follow without a sound, the children who vanish without a trace, with a whispered invitation, run away, join my circus. And when the final show ends at midnight, the tents collapse into the earth like wilted flowers, gone. No trash, no footprints, no proof it ever existed. By morning, dozens of homes are silent. Bikes still lean on porches, candy buckets sit untouched, bedroom lights still glow. But the children are gone. No broken locks, no open windows, as though the night itself reached in and plucked them away. The town searches the woods, accuses neighbors. Some swear they saw shadows in the fields. Others claim to hear laughter on the wind. But no one remembers the circus arriving. No one can name the man in red. Only the gifts remain. On doorsteps and in mailboxes tied with black ribbon, small boxes. Inside, a keepsake, a shoe, a ribbon, a locket still warm from a child's neck. And beneath it, an invitation written in gilt letters. The ringmaster thanks you for another marvelous season. Next year, come see your child beneath the big top. The circus always comes for those who are curious. And the ringmaster? He doesn't take tickets. He takes children. So every Halloween, the old warning is told again. If you ever hear carnival music drifting through the dark, cover your ears, don't follow it, and never ever let your children listen. There's something wrong with carousel music when it drifts across empty streets, too slow to dance to, too sweet to fear, yet every note feels like a finger tapping your spine. People swear they hear it only on Halloween, sliding beneath doors and across rooftops long after midnight. A cracked-toothed circus organ tune that starts crisp as winter apples and ends like a music box winding down in a child's grave. They listen once, decide it was a dream, and pull the covers over their ears. But the music isn't calling them. It's calling the cursed carousel. No one saw the carnival arrive this year. One moment the fairgrounds on the edge of town were just abandoned dirt and yellowed grass. The next, moonlight glinted off silk tents, a Ferris wheel loomed against the clouds, and in the center stood the carousel, its mirrors throwing back unfamiliar constellations, its canopy painted midnight blue, its lights the color of harvest-time embers. Parents led costumed children through the gates, marveling at the hand-carved animals. A white stallion with a cotton candy mane, a coal-black horse whose hooves looked hot from the forge, lions with ruby eyes, even swan benches where weary grown-ups could rest while the calliope sang. Every ticket sold but one, the midnight round, invitation only. That invitation found 4 pockets by dusk. First was Gideon Crane, landlord to half the county, who once evicted a single mother on Christmas Eve so he could list the house at triple rent on Boxing Day. Second came Dolores Finch, head of the local mill, who shuttered the factory without warning and spent the severance fund on a yacht she named Golden Parachute. Third was Pastor Abel Gaines, whose Sunday sermons thundered about charity while he siphoned every tithe into an offshore account. Last was teen idol Casey Vane, whose sugar-sweet image hid the bruises she left on anyone who looked weaker than her reflection. Their envelopes were black vellum, sealed with crimson wax, the shade of fresh bruises. Admit one, midnight round, a gift from the carousel. Each recipient felt the same chill of déjà vu and dismissed it with a grin. Free rides were for children and fools, but perks were perks. 11:59 p.m. Fog crawled low to the ground, licking at boot heels and masquerade hems. The carnival lights dimmed except those on the carousel, which brightened until the animals' eyes seemed to glow from within. The operator awaited them, tall hat, tails the color of dried blood, a smile too polished for the hour. "Step lively now," he purred, voice as smooth as old lacquer. "Choose the mount that speaks to your soul." Gideon hauled himself onto the black horse, smirking when the animal's nostrils flared like bellows. Dolores perched on the white stallion, stroking its painted mane as if pricing it for resale. Pastor Gaines selected a golden lion, rehearsing pieties he would boast about tomorrow. Casey sprawled across a pair of swans, snapping a mirror selfie and tagging it blessed. The operator lifted one gloved hand. The ancient carnival organ wheezed awake. But instead of rising, the carousel shuddered, then began to turn backward, slowly at first, like rewinding an unpleasant memory. Brass poles creaked, mirrors blurred, the animals' colors deepened, shedding sugary pastels for richer, older hues. Oxblood, pitch, tarnished silver. Round and round, faster and faster, until the music warped into something off-key and ravenous. Gideon tried to dismount. The saddle burned his palms like hot iron. Dolores yanked at the brass pole. It oozed liquid gold that glued her fingers in place. Pastor Gaines called for mercy, but every word returned to him reversed, a snake swallowing its tail. Casey's phone shattered, screen spider-webbing into 100 tiny reflections of her own widening eyes. The carousel spun so fiercely the tents and sky and world smeared into a single gray vortex, then stopped dead. Silence. The operator tipped his hat. Where the 4 riders had sat, the mounts were empty. No hats, no shoes, no phones. Nothing but faint shadows where bodies should have been. Mirrors lay dark, refusing to hold a memory. Across town, eviction notices fluttered blank, a yacht bobbed nameless, a church ledger bled red, and a million adoring followers blinked at social feeds, suddenly missing their star. In bedrooms and break rooms and sanctuaries, people came awake feeling oddly lighter, as though a storm had passed they never knew hung overhead. The fog rolled back. Carnival lights cooled to a mellow amber. The operator stepped onto the platform, gaze sweeping the small knot of onlookers who'd witnessed nothing and yet felt everything. "Last call," he announced, voice ringing clear as a chapel bell. "Anyone else fancy a free ride?" "No?" He smiled, all teeth and courtesy. "Then the carousel is closed for the night." Somewhere beyond the fairgrounds, a rooster crowed, though dawn was hours away. Tents folded themselves like origami shadows. The Ferris wheel sank into the earth without a sound. By sunrise, the field was bare again, save for 4 fresh divots in the mud shaped like hooves, paws, swan-feathered wings, and a single brass ring half buried near the gate, cold to the touch, still humming faintly with music no one could place. If next Halloween you hear carousel tunes drifting through your walls, think about the weight of every deed you've sealed with a grin, every kindness you withheld because it cost too much, every soul you taxed to polish your own brass halo. Because the haunted carousel is always looking for its midnight riders, and the tickets are already addressed. Some cemeteries die twice, once when the last mourner forgets the way, and again when the forest drags the stones beneath its roots. Deep in those woods, no birds sing after dusk, only wind moves, carrying voices that no longer have throats to speak. This is the story of the haunted honeymoon. Emma and Blake didn't hear those voices when they arrived for their Halloween honeymoon. The listing called the cabin rustic and romantic, a perfect retreat from reception hall chaos. It came with firewood, oil lamps, and a key hidden beneath a pumpkin on the porch. Cell service died 3 miles back. They unpacked. They laughed at the moth-eaten curtains and the way every floorboard sighed like it had a secret. By twilight, they were toasting marshmallows over the hearth when Emma noticed the books lining a low shelf, ledgers bound in cracked leather. One was stamped Caretaker's Journal, 1921 to 1976. She opened it and felt the room exhale cold. Names filled the pages, hundreds of them, each followed by a brief epitaph and a burial plot. Infant daughter, never named, row 7, stone 3. Another, Walter Finch, groundskeeper, row 0. Emma's skin prickled. If there was a row 0, it had to be here, beneath their feet. Outside, fog lifted off the ground like breath. Shapes moved within it, too tall, too thin, gliding where no paths lay. Voices floated through the timber walls, murmured fragments, like guests searching for their seats at a wedding long delayed. Blake tried to laugh it off until an old rotary phone rang somewhere in the house. 3 shrill pulses, then silence. They searched every table, closet, and drawer. Nothing. The phone rang again, farther away, as if playing hide-and-seek. Emma swore it came from below, but the trapdoor in the pantry was nailed shut. Midnight loomed. Fog pressed against the windows, blotting out the moon. The graves emerged, dozens of small, unmarked mounds circling the cabin in perfect rings. Footsteps padded through fallen leaves. Knuckles rapped politely on the door. Once, twice, a child's voice whispered, "May we come in?" Blake reached for the knob. "Don't," Emma mouthed, but the phone shrieked from the pantry. Nails groaned, boards split, and the trapdoor yawned open. Down in the crawl space perched a dusty black telephone on a coffin-lid crate. It rang a 3rd time. She answered. A hiss poured through the receiver, then a woman's voice brittle as cobwebs. "Don't answer when they knock. Don't let them know you're here." Emma spun toward the front room, just in time to hear the latch click open. Blake's silhouette stood in the doorway. Beyond him stretched rows of gravestones shining wetly in moon fog. Thin figures pressed forward, carrying the smell of earth turned too soon. The phone went dead. Dawn rose gray and hollow. Where the cabin once stood, only moss and 2 fresh graves remained, each marked with a heart carved into damp wood. The journal lay open beside them, 2 new names inked in a hand that hadn't written for 50 years. If you ever follow a forgotten road to an unlisted cabin in October, remember, the dead still keep guest books, and they answer the door quicker than you do. Some Halloween dares are harmless. Candy grabs, plastic masks, ghost stories told by flashlight. But when the air smells like moss and bone, fog crawls low without touching the ground, it's best to stay out of the graveyard. Especially the old ones, where the headstones lean like eavesdropping strangers and the dirt never settles. Tonight's tale is called Don't Blink in the Graveyard, and if you ever feel something behind you in the dark, don't turn around. Don't blink. Just run. Emily wasn't the type to scare easily. She liked dark stories, old cemeteries, and Halloween more than most kids her age. So when her friends dared her to sneak into Ashcroft Cemetery after sundown and take a selfie between 2 headstones, she laughed. Easy. She had a new phone, the perfect outfit, even a post ready to go viral. All she had to do was walk in, snap a photo, and walk out. Ashcroft wasn't a place people visited anymore. Too old, too forgotten. The iron gate sagged on its hinges, paths broken into gravel and moss. Bare trees loomed like sentinels against an orange-black sky, their branches rattling in the wind. Fog rolled across the ground in slow, silent waves, curling around her ankles like it meant to keep her there. She chose a spot near the back, between 2 crumbling angel statues whose faces had been half-eaten by time. Smiling at her reflection, she lifted the phone, framed the shot, and snapped. Then she blinked. When her eyes opened, her breath caught. On the screen, someone stood behind her, tall, thin, draped in funeral cloth that looked older than the graves. Its lips were torn back in a smile too wide, and where the eyes should have been, thick black stitches. She spun around. Nothing. Just fog. Just silence. Laughing shakily, she checked the screen again. The figure was still there, clearer now, its head tilted toward her like it had heard her pulse. She snapped another photo. She blinked. Now it wasn't behind her, it was beside her. Shoulder to shoulder, a skeletal hand raised, reaching. The fog thickened, erasing the markers until only shadows remained. The ground felt soft under her shoes, too soft, like fresh soil. She lifted her phone one more time. Another blink. The stitched face filled half the frame. Emily dropped the phone and ran. Trees blurred. Headstones leaned closer. Something moved behind her, always behind her, but never where her eyes could catch it. Every blink dragged it nearer, always nearer. And then she felt it. Not footsteps, not breath, fingers tapping lightly on her shoulder. She spun toward the gate. Gone. The road? Gone. The cemetery had folded in on itself, trapping her in an endless maze of graves, crooked, waiting. She blinked one last time and never opened her eyes again. The next morning, the groundskeeper found her phone lying by a patch of freshly sunken earth. Her bag, her scarf, her water bottle, all there. But no Emily. Only an open grave, and a gallery full of selfies. The first were normal, but frame by frame the figure crept closer, stitched grin stretching wider. In the final photo, the camera looked down from above. Emily lay at the bottom of the grave, her mouth sewn shut, her eyes stitched closed. And in the corner of the photo, a skeletal hand still clutching the phone, still smiling. So if you ever take a selfie in a graveyard on Halloween night, make sure there's no one behind you. And whatever you do, don't blink. Some houses keep their secrets in the basement, others in the walls. But the worst ones, the truly old ones, they whisper from the attic, the place where no one dusts, no one checks, and something is always waiting just beyond the last step. Tonight's story is called The Doll in the Attic. And if you ever hear footsteps above your ceiling at night, you better pray there's no ladder. When Caroline's family moved into the old farmhouse on the edge of town, everyone said the same thing. Don't worry about the attic, it's sealed off anyway. The hatch was nailed shut, the ladder missing, and the realtor claimed the space was used only for insulation and wiring. Caroline didn't ask questions. At 12 years old, she was used to starting over. Her mom moved them every couple of years, chasing jobs, chasing peace, chasing something she never found. The first time she heard the creaking above her bed, it was just after Halloween. A slow, deliberate sound, like a chair rocking back and forth in the ceiling. Her mom said it was squirrels, maybe raccoons. But Caroline had grown up with animals. This wasn't that. This was heavier, rhythmic, almost human. One rainy Saturday, she found an old key in a kitchen drawer. It was flat, tarnished, and had a strange little heart-shaped top. She didn't know why she kept it. That night, she dreamed of the attic hatch, the nails pulling themselves free, the wood softening into sponge, the key fitting perfectly in a lock that shouldn't exist. When she woke up, the key was clutched tightly in her hand. Quietly, she walked to the ceiling trap door that was then entrance to the attic. She pulled the cord that was attached to the trap door, and it opened without resistance. The attic ladder slid down, cold and silent, like it had been waiting. Dust spiraled in the beam of her flashlight. She climbed. The attic was cluttered with trunks and boxes, all draped in moldy sheets. But in the far corner, beneath a single hanging bulb that flickered on as she approached, sat a small rocking chair. And in it, a doll, porcelain, pale. Its dress was stained lace, its hair curled in faded gold spirals. Its glass eyes were a soft, unsettling blue. But it was the face that made Caroline's breath catch in her chest. The doll looked exactly like her. Same braid, same chipped tooth, same freckle on the chin. She stepped back, heart pounding. A sudden creak behind her spun her around. Nothing, just shadows. But when she turned back, the doll's head was tilted to the side. It hadn't been before. She fled the attic, locked the hatch, shoved a dresser beneath it. But that night, the footsteps returned, heavier, closer. The sound of tiny feet pacing above her bed, whispering. She never told her mom. She just didn't sleep. A week later, she found the doll in her closet. Its hands were now stitched together, its mouth sewn shut with red thread. But its eyes were wide open. That was the last night she stayed in the house. The family moved again, without explanation. But the realtor who listed the home reported something odd when she checked the attic. A rocking chair still warm to the touch, and a porcelain doll sitting in it, hands unbound, mouth smiling just a little too wide. Sometimes at night, when the wind blows just right, neighbors swear they hear a faint creaking from the attic, like someone rocking gently, waiting. If you ever find a doll that looks like you, don't keep it, don't touch it. And whatever you do, don't let it come down the stairs. Thank you for joining us tonight for this Halloween edition of Whispers After Dark. The rest of our Halloween special collection waits through the link in the description below. But remember, every tale carries its own curse. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss an episode of What Waits in the Dark. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and beware of the whispers after dark.